Hello, everyone. Welcome to the webinar on Marie Sklodowska-Curie Actions Staff Exchanges, brought to you by EURAXESS Australia and New Zealand. It is great to see interest from researchers not only in Australia and New Zealand, but also from 43 other countries across the globe. Hence, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you who are joining us from different parts of the world. First of all, please allow me to introduce to you our esteemed guest speakers for today. We have with us Ms. Leila Triki, who is the Tunisian National Contact Point for MSCA. She will help you understand the nitty-gritty of MSCA Staff Exchanges. Then we will have with us Dr. Corinne Caillot, who is an associate professor at the School of Medicine at the University of Sydney. She will be sharing her insights on how she applied for staff exchanges and how she did it. Thank you to both of you for joining us, and especially to Leila for joining so early from Tunisia. We're glad to have both of you with us. And I'm Nishan Sandil, a regional coordinator for Australia and New Zealand at EURAXESS Worldwide. I've noticed quite a number of familiar names in the registration list, but also many who are joining us for the first time. So for those who are joining our webinar for the first time, EURAXESS is an initiative of the European Commission that addresses barriers to the mobility of researchers and seeks to enhance scientific collaboration between Europe and the rest of the world. So when we say rest of the world, we get involved with a lot of regions in the globe. We provide free information about European research, career opportunities, international collaboration, and networking possibilities. As all of you are watching this on your laptop or your phone, I'll encourage you to type EURAXESS Australia and New Zealand on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube, and follow us there. Now, before we begin, just a few quick housekeeping insights. I'd encourage all of you to please use the Q&A function, not the chat function in the interface, to ask any questions that you might have while our speakers are presenting. We'll come back and take your questions after the presentation. And as always, we will provide you the recording and the slide of the session. However, the recording will not include the Q&A, and hence, I'll recommend you to stay for the entire duration if you want to hear responses for the common queries that applicants have. Now, yes, let's begin with the actual presentation for which you have all joined in. And now I'll pass the presenter privilege to you, Leila, and she will be explaining about understanding Marie Sklodowska-Curie actions to you. Over to you, Leila.
Thanks. So good evening for you. For it will be good morning, everyone. I am Leila Triki. I am engineer in National Institute for Research and Analysis, Chemical Analysis in Tunisia. I am also National Contact Point, Tunisian National Contact Point for MSCA Actions under Horizon Europe. And I will share with you my screen for the presentation of the staff exchange. So we will see some overview for Marie Sklodowska-Curie actions. So here there is, I present you the Horizon Europe program, who is composed with three main pillars. Pillar one for excellent science, where we find Marie Sklodowska-Curie actions with the European Research Council and research infrastructure. And there is the pillar two for global challenges and European individual competitiveness. And the third pillar is for Innovative Europe with the European Innovation Council and the European Innovation Ecosystem. The budget for this program is about 95.5 billion euro. And the pillar one, excellence science, is aiming for reinforcing and extending the excellence of the Union's science-based with Marie Sklodowska-Curie actions. Is for equipping researchers with new knowledge and skills through mobility and training, with a budget of 6.6 billion euro. There were 12 Nobel Prize winners either backed by or involved in Marie Sklodowska-Curie action between 2012-2020, and this year there was 2 Nobel Prize involving coordinator or participant in the Marie Sklodowska actions. So MSCA key features. So MSCA operates on a bottom-up basis. So it can apply for any subject area. It is open subject for everyone, from basic research through junior market take-up. It is a 3I approach to mobility, so interdisciplinary, inter-sectoral, and international. It is aimed to enhance skills of people behind research and innovation. It is gender-friendly and inclusive, equal opportunities in the research content. It is for dissemination and public engagement. So it enhances skills of people behind research and innovation, long-term employability, encouraging people to become researchers and innovators, equip researchers with the necessary skills and international experience, foster innovation and develop entrepreneurial mindset, promote the European global attractiveness for talent. So it is for researcher training skills and career development, excellence research in all domain, bottom-up research, international cross-sectoral and interdisciplinary mobility, attractive working and employment conditions, structure and impact on organization through excellence program, strong collaboration beyond academia. So there are 5 actions under Marie Sklodowska-Curie, and we are interested in staff exchanges who promote innovative international, intersectoral, and interdisciplinary collaboration and in research and innovation. Some terminology, there is 3 status for country: European member state, Horizon Europe associated country like Tunisia, Turkey, and other country, it is third countries. So beneficiary, there are 2 status: beneficiary or associated partners. Beneficiary will sign the grant agreement with European Union, minimum numbers of geographical requirements, receive and will receive funding directly. For associated partners, they does not sign the grant agreement, contribute to the actions, and does not directly receive funding. Organization and individuals. For organization, there must be a legal entity from academic or non-academic sector, can be beneficiary or associated partners. For individual researcher, there can, from any nationality, any topic or field. Mobility is required and specific condition depending on each axis. For participation of third country organization, they can be for staff exchange only associated partners. And for individuals, they are eligible for all actions and for where to look for vacancies. You can see all of them in EURAXESS, or for staff exchange, we must contact institution that will be included in the project. So for MSCA Staff Exchange for 2023, it is a collaborative research and innovation project implemented through secondment. So it will build new and develop existing network and collaboration, increasing global cooperation, increase collaboration between sectors, including SMEs, enhancing knowledge transfer between participants, building long-term collaboration, developing research and transfer skills, supporting long-term employability, encourage 3 dimensions of mobility, inter-sectoral, international, and interdisciplinary. Funds basic research through junior market active across all sectors. So the maximum duration will be 4 years. 360 months per person month. So the expected impact for staff members will be developing transferable skills and competencies, increasing employability, develop entrepreneurial mindsets, enhance networking and communication capacities, international exposure, enhance existing and build new collaborative networks. For organization, the impact expected will be transfer of knowledge, increase research and innovation capacity, develop and build sustainable international partnership with partners all over the world, build and enhance inter-sectoral relationship, innovative way of cooperation and transfer of knowledge between sectors and disciplines. Eligible participant can be any legal established in the academic or non-academic sector. The minimum consortium will be with 3 different legal entities established in 3 different countries, 2 of which must be based in different European Union member state or associated country. And if the organizations are from the same sector, at least one must be from the 3rd country. So for organization can be non-academic sector, so any socio-economic sector, not included in the academic sector, academic this or non, and for academic sector it is public or private higher education establishment, awarding academic degrees, public or private non-profit research organization, and international Europe research organization. So the academic versus non-academic determined by European Commission during the validation process. Important to check with the organization in advance to understand which sector they are in. So there are 2 type of consortia for staff exchange. So member state or associated countries with 3rd countries. There is no rule for academic or non-academic. And for if all are based in European Union, there must be from both sectors, academic and non-academic sector, for the second. So there are no typical consortium size. The range will be from 3 to 20 organizations. It depends on the need of the individual project. 2 types of participation will be beneficiaries and associated partners. We recommend to not exceed 10 organizations. The number of associated partners should be reasonable and in line with the project size. So beneficiary must be located in European member state or associated country, can send staff on secondments, can host secondment staff, and can provide training opportunities. For associated partners, they can be located in 3rd country, can host secondment staff, can provide training opportunities, and can send on secondment specific funding eligible rules can apply. So for secondments, 3rd participants from low to middle income countries are automatically eligible for European Commission funding. Other 3rd country participants will need to provide their own funding to support secondment staff. So for hosting and receiving staff members, in the case if we are from academic organization in the member state or associated country, the hosting will be 1/3 with another academic organization, and it is eligible for non-academic organization in another member state or associated country, and it can be for any organization in third country. And the same with non-academic organization, it is eligible for to go to academic organization in other member states and will be 1/3 of the secondments in the same sector. And it is open for third country from academic or non-academic countries. And in case of organization from third countries, secondments are eligible for academic or non-academic organization in member state or associated country. So up to 1/3 of the total secondments European Commission funded can be between member state or associated country within the same sector. So it is more detailed here. So for secondments, secondments last between 1 to 12 months, counted from the day of departure of the day to the day of return. At least 1 month must be completed, after which funding is pro rata. A secondment may be split into several stages with one or several beneficiaries or associated partners. Staff must work full-time on secondment, even if normally they work part-time. And inbuilt returns mechanism must be foreseen and can be in different reporting periods, but only claim in one. We can split segment between one or several beneficiary or associated partners, but must still respect the maximum and minimum duration rule. All the segment must take place within the duration of the action, and at least 1 month must be completed, after which funding is pro rata. So we can split our segment with all beneficiaries or partners. For interdisciplinary, up to 1/3 of the total segment funded by the European Union can be between different member state associated or associated countries within the same sector, academic or non-academic, if they are interdisciplinary. Donc, considered in interdisciplinary if the activities undertaken during the segment are from 2 or more different scientific disciplines. For segment eligibility, staff going on segment must meet specific criteria, be under the direction of and instruction of the sending organization for duration of the segment, actively engaged or linked to research and innovation activities for at least 1 month prior to first segment, have the appropriate experience to undertake the activities, and must work full-time while on segment. So, for example, for PhD student, for technical staff, research assistants, postdoctoral researchers, senior researcher, managerial and administrative are eligible for segment. And what is funded? Maximum funding is for 360 person month. The unit cost per person month for total person month is 4,600 euro. There will be staff member unit cost 2,300. Research training and networking 1,300, and management and direct cost 1,000. So the funding based on unit cost multiplied by person month spent on segments, non-detailed financial report on completed segment month, and ensure all participants understand the financial rules. So for contribution for recruit researcher per person month, top-up allowance for the second, sorry. The second staff member contributes to travel, accommodation, and subsistence costs related to the secondment. Employers must continue to pay staff member salary during their stay abroad. The special needs allowance contributes to additional costs for the acquisition of special need items and service for staff members with physical, mental, intellectual, or sensor impairments. And for institutional costs, depend on implementation or secondments. For research, training, and network unit cost, it contributes to the cost for training, transfer of knowledge, and networking activities, as well as research expenses. Management and indirect units contribute to the beneficiaries' costs in relation with the action, generally top sliced by the coordinator to cover network-wide activities. The amount will be agreed by the consortium. Institutional costs can be transferred to the associated partner. The amount and how this work will be decided and agreed by the both organizations. So some practical consideration. A letter of commitment. It is a requirement for associated partners. The letter must be up to date and on headed paper. It should confirm real and active participation in the proposed action. General guidelines are given. They can take time to get signed. Failure to include a letter of commitment can result in the proposal being ineligible or the associated partners being excluded. Operational capacity of the organization include all relevant information in the tables in this section, profile of key staff, description of key infrastructure or technical equipment, all partner organizations contributing toward the proposed work. So we can follow our formatting rules. Standard applications templates are available. The declaration of unit codes. I can't see my screen, sorry. So beneficiaries declare all costs in individual financial statement for outgoing segments, incoming segments from third country partners, and beneficiary must complete a mobility declaration for outgoing segments of its own staff and incoming segments from the third country partners. So if you are hosting staff from partner third country organization eligible for funding, you are responsible for declaring costs linked to incoming segments. So you must check the eligibility of segment staff members and retain evidence for potential audits. For agreement, in addition to the grant agreement, parties will need to produce a consortium agreement as well as agreement with the associated partners. So there are no official templates normally prepared by coordinator. There are some unofficial templates based on the ESA model consortium agreement. There are also the IPR help desk, IP in MSCA fact sheets, and can include associated partner in the consortium agreement or have a secondary agreement. So for MSCA guidelines, non-existent list of recommendations completed by other activities that are expected to be implemented on the best effort basis, emphasizes the importance of sufficient training and professional development for supervisor, emphasizes the need for transparent procedure to facilitate conflict resolution in the event of disputes. Direct references to MSCA Green Charter. So MSCA Green Charter aim to raise awareness, encourage best practice, empower followers, set out to reduce the carbon footprint of MSCA project, increase awareness on environmental issues, promote sustainable behaviors and policies. Will be reporting requirements but not part of evaluation criteria. Will be supported by additional guidance material, case studies, tools, and dedicated fact question. So all MSCA applicants and beneficiaries are encouraged to take measures to facilitate participation of this research MSCA project funded, provide useful background on research at risk, and recommended way to improve their requirement, set out recommendation on measures to follow to increase access to researchers at risk, are not part of the beneficiary's contractual obligation and should not compromise the nature of the MSCA program. Attracting attractive working and employment conditions. So for good research environment, there is Declaration on Sustainable Research Careers, the European Charters for Researchers, and the Code of Conduct for Recruitment. It is for a joint declaration on sustainable research career and by Marie Curie Alumni Association and the European Council of Doctoral Candidates and Junior Researchers. The European Research for Charter for Researchers is a set of general principles and requirements to specify the roles, responsibilities, and entitles of researchers. And the Code of Conduct for Recruitment, it is a set of general principles and requirements that should be followed by employers and or funded when appointing or recruiting researchers. So some reminds, the call timeline. It was launched in 5 October and the deadline will be for 28 February 2024. Notification of applicants, if their proposal has been selected, will be between June to July 2024. It is not officially announced. Grant agreement signature for successful project will be about November 2024. And first European funded project will start about November 2024. And these three last dates are not confirmed. They will be confirmed last. So for some advice for proposal, you must read all call documentation and the evaluation criteria, closely follow the call requirements, be in line with the action objectives and expected outcomes, describe the benefits of cooperation and how they go beyond this project, make it easy for evaluators to find the information, use clear and concise language, include diagrams, image, tables if appropriate, research previous and current projects. There is the site Cordis where you will find all project funded during H 2020 or Horizon Europe. Find colleagues to read drafts with the evaluation criteria, and consider any relevant European policy documents. So some positive feedback from your viewers. Innovation and credibility are convincingly presented and are supported by a very detailed presentation. Approach of no transfer to the second-hand research is very precisely described. The quality of the interaction between the participant organization. So there is a list of positive feedback that can help you for writing the proposal. And there are some negative feedback. The methodology proposed within SASH or drivers partnership are not sufficiently detailed. The participant interaction are not properly presented in terms of content and contribution. So you can read all this feedback within my presentation that will be sent for each participant. So key message for today, what you must retain. Staff exchange is not only about segments. You need research and training project. Be realistic about the budget. Put yourself in the shoes of the evaluators. Make their life easy. And follow the guide for applicants. Some resource where you can find more information. So MSCA how to apply, guide for applicants, MSCA work program, dedicated forum for question, instruction on how to complete the template, MSCA keywords. You can also see the call page on the European funding tenders, general work program, Horizon Europe program guide, and list of participating country in Horizon Europe. And as I said at the beginning of my presentation, I am Tunisian NCP, and I have 3 others colleagues in NCP from Tunisia, and we are here to help you if needed. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Leila, for your presentation. It's a lot of information. I'm sure that the audience will take some time to digest. However, I think the easy segue now is to go to Corinne, who is MSCA Staff Exchange Project recipient herself from the University of Sydney. So to give the geographic flavor from the region itself, we have Corinne will explain to our audience how she got involved with the staff exchange and how she went about putting forward a competitive proposal. Over to you, Corinne.
Thank you very much, Nishant. And I'm just going to share my screen. Just let me know if there's any problem with this one. Okay, thank you very much. So yes, I've been asked by Nishant to provide some insight into applying for an MSCA Staff Exchange project and scheme. And I just have to say that what I'm going to present is really a perspective from an Australian institution. And I think it's very important to just to note, because Australian institutions are not eligible for funding. But we are, I think, we have lots of benefits from being involved in such a project. So I am Professor Corinne Caillot. I am from the Faculty of Medicine and Health at the University of Sydney, and I am a member of the Charles Perkins Center that was really critical for us in being involved in this project. What you can see on the right side of the slide is the name of the project for which we applied for, and that was successful, which is the FALA project, which has at the heart research around family farming, lifestyles and health in the Pacific region. So what I'm going to tell you is a bit of a narrative into why we applied on the Marie Sklodowska-Curie Action Staff Exchange and how we did it from an Australian institution perspective. I'm going to start with, I think, something Leila highlighted at the end of her talk. She said you need to have a research project and a research question and wanted to do something together when you apply on such a scheme. So I guess our story just started mostly with a small group of people, which was myself, some members of my team at the Charles Perkins Center, and researchers from the University of New Caledonia. And we had started a few years before we applied on research projects focusing on lifestyles and health, and particularly an interest into how digital technologies could be involved, could be leveraged in the Pacific region to understand diets and physical activity behaviors, but as well to support shifting behaviors toward healthier behaviors. So basically trying to engage people in more active behaviors and having better diets. And our focus was really on adolescents and their communities. So we were quite successful in terms of engaging together. And I have to say that all of that began as well with some seed fundings from the European Union, called initially the PACENet funding. And it just allowed us to connect between Australia and New Caledonia. It's not a very long trip. It's a 3-hour trip, 3 hours flights, and really to start engaging and developing our research. So we really started to have a dynamic around the research we were doing, but at some point, our research led us to research questions relevant to other Pacific Island countries, not only New Caledonia, to other communities, to other settings. And we also wanted to explore a bit better how diets and physical activity were influenced by the food system and the food environment, and as well when it comes to physical activity with the built environment. So we really wanted to know a little bit more into how the environment and the context influenced lifestyles. So we started to extend the network and to have some initial conversation with different other groups in my institution, in the Charles Perkins Center, so people with different expertise, and also with communities in the Pacific region, because we wanted to bring together additional research expertise and technical expertise, but it was also very important to bring in local knowledge and indigenous knowledge. So the project expanded well beyond lifestyles, and we started really to get into trying to understand the food environment and to really focus on how family farming particularly was something that was very important in the Pacific region. So really to summarize what I've just said, having worked together already, at least for some members of the future network, was very important. And of course, after that, to try to bring in new people with new expertise and new traditional knowledge about farming and family farming in the region. So at some point we identified, and particularly my colleagues at the University of New Caledonia identified that the MSCA scheme was, actually a very good scheme for us to apply for to increase the size of our network and encourage secondments and exchange in techniques and knowledge. So the University of New Caledonia took the lead for this application and was eligible actually to lead the application from the European rules perspective. And from the Australian side of things, my institution in particular was very keen to support this application. And I think this is very important. If you want to apply and you are in Australia, it's very important to really bring this project to your leadership and have someone who's very keen to support you. So in our case, that was the Charles Perkins Center at the University of Sydney. So the leadership of this center with Professor Steve Simpson, that was really, really supportive about this project. So they didn't necessarily put a lot of money in the project, but they put lots of in kind and facilitated meetings when it was necessary. Another thing that was as well very important to say to our leadership was how applying to that scheme could bring research income via other kind of channel, even if the scheme itself doesn't bring income. If you live in Australia and you are a researcher at an Australian institution, I'm sure you know how much their emphasis on trying to bring in money into your institution. So I think there's very important conversation to have at the stage of applying to the scheme with your own institution, so you have a full support. Okay, so how did we organize ourselves to actually make that application exist and to be able to submit the proposal? So the University of New Caledonia was, invested some funding into bringing me and a couple of my colleagues to the University of New Caledonia for a series of workshops and meetings, and also to meet with communities in New Caledonia and get a sense of how the project could be framed. So it was very, very important for a smaller group of people and from leaders in all of the institutions that could be involved in the project. So people from lots of different institutions in the Pacific region to come together for a series of workshops. We have a full week of workshops and field trips to really brainstorm the project and see how we could apply. And I think this phase was very, very important, because when you get to, if you are successful and when it's time to start the project, those relationships that you have built are very important. And also it's a guarantee that the project has been discussed by everybody at some point before the application. So here we are, and so in 2019 we were successful with the project. In terms of how many institutions are part of the project, there are 15 institutions who are partnering in this project. A lot of them are in the Pacific region, so there's a very strong commitment of Pacific institutions in this project. And from the Australia side of things, there are 4 institutions involved. So the University of Sydney, which is kind of leading the show from the Australian perspective, since I am the focal point for Australia. Then University of New South Wales, Western Sydney University, and the University of Wollongong. And across those different institutions, we share expertise around health, lifestyles, family farming, fisheries, and really trying to understand the bulk of the context of this grant. So, okay, we were successful. Now the question was, how do we actually make this big project work? And if you look at the right side of the slide, this was what's scheduled in this project in terms of the different partners getting together and having seminars and conferences. So you can see that there are quite a lot, and there's a lot of secondments in the different countries and conferences and seminars that are scheduled. So I guess for the Australian institutions and researchers, the big challenge is how do you stay involved and how do you travel when actually you don't receive any fund and you don't really have secondments and funding for travel. And it's a very important question to think of, because I really think that the big benefit of this scheme is to actually being able to meet with the different partners and with the different people to actually achieve what this scheme is about, which is sharing research skills, techniques, methods, and build capacity. So to do that, to find the funding, I have to say you have to be a little bit creative. But what is important is that you don't necessarily need to look for big funding. Sometimes, seed funding or smaller size funding are just enough to allow for, a small number of researchers to travel and be able to attend a conference. And the rest of the team can attend via Zoom. It's always possible. But having some members of your team attending the workshops, the seminar, and the conference is very, very important. So for example, we get some very small funding I mean, actually, we invited the New Caledonian team and all of the other Australian teams at the University of Sydney just before the big project FALA was, started. And it was really, again, to be together. I have to say it was for us very, very important because it was just post-COVID. So we really needed some time to get together. A strategy as well can be to host events. So actually to have your partners to come to your institution in Australia. I guess you put the problem of finding the funding on their side, and depending on the rules of the scheme, some of them can actually travel to your institution. So for example, in November 2022, at the Charles Perkins Center, we organized one of the FALA seminar. This is the picture at the bottom here. And you can see that it was really a very important moment to share ideas and to work collaboratively. So in terms of being able to secure some funding, you have to be creative, look around, depending on your field or your area of expertise or your topic. I'm sure there will be around some smaller funding. Something we did as well that was a bit strategic with my colleague Olivier Gallier, who is Associate Academic Director for FALA, was to try to make our work more visible. And we had that opportunity because at the Charles Perkins Center, they have mechanisms where you can create what's called a node. But basically, this is a mechanism that help people who want to work together on a project to actually have a space on the internet, and to have as well a little bit of seed funding to get started on the work. So again, that was very small funding, but that was just enough to fund some travel and exchange, and it gave some visibility to our work as well. And then as we progressed and as it was becoming more visible that we were involved in this big European grant, and I have to say that when you talk to your leadership and you mention that you are already involved in those mechanisms, it's usually really, really well viewed. And you may have opportunities, which was the case for us, to apply for internal funding, for example. And we were successful with one of our application, and the feedback we received was that one of the big strengths of our application was that we were already kind of part of a big network with this FALA grant supported by Europe, and it was viewed very positively. So be creative, think at the different pockets you can potentially find to apply for grants and to start funding your travel, and potentially, and this is what we did, other projects that start to feed and to grow the core of the research that's done as part of the grant. So now we are toward the last year and a half of FALA, and we started to apply for bigger schemes. And you can see it's just a few examples. We applied for what's called the RERIPA European scheme. And this is another scheme where Australia is not eligible. However, we've built relationships, we've built trust. And so we don't mind being involved in those grants, and again, being this similar dynamic where you know that you're gonna get some benefit from the networking and the connections. We applied for Pacific Funds, which is a mechanism that is very effective to get funding for travel. And then we applied more recently on the Global Alliance for Chronic Disease slash NHMRC NHMRC grant, in 2023. And we applied for more than 1 million. So you can see as well how you can build your portfolio of research and grants and network with different mechanisms and smaller grant scheme, and as you go, larger grants to progress your research. Just something I wanted to mention before I get to the end of this talk is that being part of the European grants allows you as well to publish in the European publication Open Research Europe. and I think it's a very positive way as well. I have to say that within this big round, we were able as well to build capacity for students and PhD students, and sometimes undergraduate students that joined us during the trips, and that was actually very nice to see how we could bring everybody together on this project. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Corinne. I think it was really significant that we heard from you on how the Australian participation or the New Zealand participation could happen in these contexts. Of course, with the limitation of being just an associated partner, there are still opportunities which you have very well received. You have also been very creative in how to get the value that you want to derive from international project like MSCA Staff Exchange. So I think it gives us a lot of thought for also the attendees. I'm aware that we have several attendees who are from different parts of the world, especially also from the low and middle income countries who are automatically eligible. So you have to understand from your own perspective how you look at MSCA Staff Exchanges. I think it was really clear to also see what complementary funding you have been getting involved with, because you have had a good mix of researchers who have good working relationship on a particular topic, right? So I think thank you very much for this excellent presentation, Leila. I think before we close, do you have any advice for the Australian participants, Corinne, if you want to tell them what they should be doing for the Staff Exchange 2023 call?
Yes, thank you. No, I think if the opportunity presents, because it's an opportunity arising from existing collaboration, I think, yeah, I would really encourage to go for it and to be prepared and to have the conversations with their, leadership and their university to make sure they have the support. I think it's important. And I guess as well for people who are interested but not yet part of the network, yeah, this is something I didn't talk about in my presentation, but looking at the different mechanisms you presented, Leila, to find partners, I think depending your field of research, it would make a lot of sense as well. So I think it's an amazing thing for networking, and I think the caveat of not having the funding or receiving the funding can be balanced by the benefit of being part of such a big grant and a big scheme if you are successful with your application, because it's a kind of a bit of a brand or a branding, like you can put that in your application, and you're part of a network. You are part of something that's big, and you were successful with such a scheme. You are part of something that's big, and it's a very good sign for funders in other schemes.
Of course, yes. Thank you very much, Corinne. And of course, we also have to consider the fact that although, for example, an Australian institution will not receive funding themselves, but they will always be able to host staff from another country at the project's cost. So it's something that has to be explored, right? It's something that, although is not bringing in cash funding, but it's an in-kind contribution that they are receiving. So all of these has to be looked at from a holistic perspective. And I think with today's presentation, both of you, Leila and Corinne, have been able to give an appetite for the staff exchanges to the audience who have joined. And I wish we had more time to respond. I am aware that there are several questions that we might not have answered. If you think your questions are really something that you want a response to, please feel free to write to us and we'll be able to give you a response in writing. With that, please allow me in joining our amazing speakers for today, Leila and Corinne, for their time. I'm sure our audience got a lot of useful insights. Because we are approaching the end, we have a quick request. A survey will appear on your screen when you leave the webinar. It has 2 questions and most probably will take you like 10 seconds to respond. Please give us your response so that we can take your feedback while organizing future sessions. To wrap up, please allow me to reiterate to keep an eye on our social media platforms to get notified of such informative webinars in the future. Of course, when we organize these webinars, we'll also try to bring in a geographic component to it so that our researchers from Australia and New Zealand will also be able to identify themselves and how they can get involved in such programs. With that, I think this brings us to the end of today's session, and signing off and wishing you a good day or evening from wherever you are joining. Thank you very much for your time and your attention for the webinar. Thank you very much.
You.
Thank you.